Keely Ringo is quietly the one of the best cornerbacks in the country, in my opinion.
Welcome to My Gotta Podcast. I'm Jim Wood. In this episode, John Powell and I review Georgia's 62-0 thrashing of Vanderbilt. As always, remember to check out store.mygottapodcast.com to see our latest merch. And you can follow us on social media at MyGottaPodcast. Finally, if you like what you hear, please subscribe, rate, 5 stars obviously, and review the show. If you leave us a review, you just might hear it on an upcoming episode. Now, let's join the conversation in progress. So I would say Saturday went not as we had hoped for you personally, but as far as on the field, it was everything we had hoped for and more.
Yeah, no, the game was fantastic. My travels were less than ideal.
Yeah. Well, you made it. You made it. I know car trouble on the way, but ultimately got there safe and sound. So that's at least good.
We ultimately got here. Yeah, exactly. We're at the beach. There's not a whole lot of complaining you can do at the beach, but it's definitely been accommodative errors for vacation time. However, the dogs rolled. I was getting text messages from you guys while I was driving. I was trying to be respectful of my family because I've got kids that were trying to watch videos and things like that. And I was trying to follow along, but with the car trouble stress, like I couldn't follow along the way that I wanted to. However, I was seeing the text messages pop up on the CarPlay, and I couldn't decide if we were up by 1,000 points or if we were in a barn burner throughout the game. Because it sounded like there were some critiques on the offense, but then we were beating the piss out of them. So,
right. Yeah, it was probably the confusion of the second quarter. I'll say, I feel like historically, our concern has been the playing to the level of your competition sometimes, so
right.
kind of playing, we may play up to teams, but we would also play down to teams. And so, and then the noon kickoff and on the road, I can't remember ever seeing us do that to a team before, the way we just jumped on them. And I got to say, for me, that the opening possession that Vanderbilt had, the third down when Jalen Carter shed a block and just obliterated their running back, it just set the tone for the game. And then it was just short field after short field, and touchdown. It was I've never seen us do that to anybody. It was impressive, and it was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. I have seen the game. I haven't seen the entirety of the fourth quarter just yet, but obviously I've paid attention to all the stat lines and the score and all that stuff, and yeah, just an absolute beatdown. That play that you're talking about, that was pretty awesome, where he just absolutely exploded their running back. But yeah,
you haven't missed much by not watching the full fourth quarter yet.
Yeah,
because I had to switch, so I watched the first half on TV and then listened to the second half on the radio for when I was at a soccer game. And I think I tweeted something to that effect, and it was a listener, I think it was Brett Building, replied and said that it wasn't sure that I really needed to go back and rewatch it, because at that point it was kind of like watching the G-Day game, which
that's true.
Yeah, I think that was pretty accurate.
That was always the hope, was that we could get into the twos and threes. If I had one critique, I really would have hoped that this is the type of game that Brock Vandegrift would have gotten some game time in. But beggars can't be choosers with 4 quality quarterbacks on the roster, getting your backup as much experience as possible. Although, I think that some stuff that I thought was, in my watching of how Stetson did, I was actually kind of impressed with how he played. I saw a lot of stuff online. I think the text thread was also popping about how he wasn't doing so good. He made some poor decisions, but And I think that there was a couple of opportunities for him to pull the ball and take off running, but I thought he did a really good job. Otherwise, I mean, we were rocking and rolling.
Yeah, I think it was just I would say it was the second quarter, right? I think he did much better in the third quarter. So the second quarter, like right when he came in, it was like, wait, we didn't score a touchdown.
Yeah, we only
His first
scored we
drive,
only
you
scored
know?
once.
Yeah. So that, and then the pick, although the pick happened right after a drop. So there was a drop. And then, a couple of plays later, he threw the pick, which the pick was not a good decision. And I don't know, there's another like non-touchdown drive where I think it was there was a naked bootleg to the left, which I know you say you don't want to see that with JT. They did it with Stetson. That was not successful. But yeah, I mean, I think at that point it's kind of picking nits. I mean, 62-0, like whatever. When the first team was in there across the board, it was unbelievable. It was a beatdown like I'd never seen. I guess a couple of things. Like number one, I tweeted out like if you had Brock Bowers scoring the first touchdown on a jet sweep, then you win all the things.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, we called him out preseason as someone to watch for, and we were excited. But I'm not even going to pretend like I expected him to do anything like what he's doing.
Yeah, for real. I think that we mentioned it on. I think I mentioned it on our last episode, but I genuinely believe that we may be approaching an All-American true freshman tight end at the University of Georgia, which is just absolute dog porn. Oh, sweet Jesus.
What?
Darnell Washington and Tyke Smith are full go for Saturday.
Nice. All right.
We'll no longer listed as day-to-day.
Awesome. We'll get that will be much discussed when we preview Arkansas. But no, so yes, sorry, I hesitated there. Totally agree on Bowers, and I think he's starting to get some look at whatever the tight end position award is. Is it the Mackey Award? I think, right? Like, I think he's got to be considered for that. And I mean, he's our best player on offense right now. I think it's pretty safe to say.
Yeah, it is the Mackey Award. Yeah, and I would say that he's obviously a crucial part of the offense because of the way that they've like game plan. I mean, please tell me when was the last time in the SEC? I mean, certainly at the University of Georgia. When was the last time we had a tight end score on a jet sweep for more than like 20 plus yards? I can't remember how long that run was, but like, are you kidding me? Like a tight end.
It wasn't that far of a run. Like I think it was goal to go, I think, but still, I mean, it wasn't like it was on the one. Like he got a few yards. I don't remember ever seeing anyone do that. I mean, Kyle Pitts is a fast guy. I don't know that Florida ever ran an end around or jet sweep with Kyle Pitts. I don't watch enough Florida to know the answer to
that.
Right. We've certainly never seen it in Georgia. I mean, that's the kind of play that we would see. Okay. So when we really started implementing that play, I feel like was like when Champ Bailey was in school, right? So like specifically the jet sweep as opposed to an end around. I mean, we used to run that play with Champ Bailey. And since then, it's been the super fast guys, Champ Bailey, Isaiah McKenzie, right? Mecole Hardman. Like, those are the kind of guys that you would do that on. And like, today you would think, Jermaine Burton, Arian Smith. And then now that we've added Brock Bowers into the fold there, that was, I mean, it was awesome. Like, I don't really have anything else to say about it.
Yeah. No, that was fantastic. I mean, win probability never got below 98% for the entirety of the game. So that's just absolute domination. Looking at the team stats is again another dog porn situation. 532 yards, 77 total yards for Vanderbilt. Like, are you kidding me? Holding any team under 100 yards total yards is just absolute ridiculous. And they nearly had almost as many turnovers as they did first downs. 3 turnovers and 4 first downs to our 28 first downs and 1 turnover, obviously. But yeah, that is just absolutely phenomenal.
So I was like towards the like after we recorded last week, you know, as I continued to like, you know, read stuff online and listen to other Georgia podcasts, you know, I was getting a sense like a lot of people were saying like, well, sure, we were all mad about, you know, the cancellation last year when it happened, but you know, cooler heads have prevailed and it's not going to really be a factor. I mean, am I wrong? I mean, I feel like it was definitely a factor. I don't know, like just the way we jumped on them like that, and as jacked as everyone was, I don't know. I feel like it was bothering them, at least in the first quarter. maybe we forgave them after we got up 35-0 because we sat and didn't score in the second quarter. Well, we did. We got a field goal, but anyway, I feel like it. I feel like they kind of showed that they were upset about it.
Yeah, no, I think that a statement was certainly made. Certainly. Some other stuff that I saw, I feel like the Twitters and possibly the text thread were a little unfair with the running game situation. So
Yeah,
watching it live, like, okay, you look at the stat line. Okay, we averaged 5 yards a rush. We also had over almost 250 yards rushing. It was 240 yards. We averaged 5 yards a rush. So that obviously is not like, you know, it's not going to light up anyone's day kind of thing. However, it is worth noting that we were averaging probably, I want to say we were averaging over almost 10 yards a carry or over 10 yards a carry through the first couple of quarters. So like clearly when we started putting in the 2s and 3s and that kind of thing, like that the run game kind of, the quality kind of dropped off. Although it was nice to see where's Scott Howard when you need him? Dejan? I can't remember how. Dejan.
I don't have the soundboard right now, but it is Dejan Edwards. Yes,
Dejan. Yeah. We're a little hindered on the technology right now. It was nice to see him get some carries. He had a pretty decent game there towards the end. So got a touchdown. So that was good. I mean, I think we had one, two, three different running backs had touchdowns in this game. So that was nice.
Yeah. And then I guess 5 players scored a rushing touchdown because McConkey had a rushing touchdown and then Bowers had a rushing touchdown. I also had a neighbor buddy of mine, just in like our neighborhood dads group text we've got going. Someone said, like, it was like, "Hey Jim, maybe Georgia should stop scoring now." And I was like, "There's 13 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and that was our 5th string running back. Like, if you can't stop it, it's not our fault." after Dejan Edwards scored, that was pretty crazy. I do have to add too, I definitely laughed that Kenny McIntosh scored his touchdown on a run up the middle. So I had to point that out.
Well, so you point that out, but I think I can't remember someone on Twitter if it was Pain Dog or if it was 51 to
51-7 JTA.
50, yeah. Sorry. 51, I was I was trying to finish my thought, but was getting ahead of myself. The favorite play from Kenny is the outside run, which was true because it was there all day long for him. It felt like. Yeah. I mean, overall, there's not a whole lot to complain about. I mean, you did what you did. I mean, JT Daniels was 9 of 10, 129 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. I mean,
that's unbelievable.
It's pretty much a clean day at the office for him.
I hadn't gone back and looked at the box score yet. He was 9 of 10. I didn't even realize that.
He was 9 of 10.
That one incompletion was a drop too. I'm pretty sure.
I was just about to say, I believe that one was a drop too. So
yeah, and I think was it Brock Bowers, because I think he dropped one, and it was like, oh, Brock Bowers dropped a pass. What just happened?
Yeah.
I think I'm getting that right. I think that was this game. Maybe it was last game. I'm losing track. But the one thing I was going to say, like, about the run game, I think probably what you're saying of like overreacting in the text thread, and I certainly did. I know for me personally, I think probably what's resonating there to you was when we one of the things we had talked about was, would we see the jumbo package? I think it was Fletcher Proctor had asked, right? Would we see a trick play? And we were thinking no. And we did see the return of the jumbo package. But again, it was at the point where we had, JT was out of the game. We wasn't the starters. I'm not even sure who was in on offensive line, if it was a starting line. And it was also, we ran James Cook right up the middle into that formation. So I think better chance for success with Zamir White. Although that was my frustration, though, was probably that singular play. But that we had the jumbo package, but didn't get a hole. But whatever, one play. Like again, we won 62-0. Like hindsight, I don't so much care about it. That was kind of a heat of the moment. That was me being irrational fan during the game. But after the game, agreed. Not as worried.
Yeah, no, I'm not as worried looking at the replay as closely as I did, because I was actually like rewinding and stuff, trying to figure out like what was going on with some of the things, like just almost like watching it that way, knowing what's the score, at least in this game. had we have lost, like that would have been a much different experience. I don't even know that I could have done it.
Yeah, but the game's going well though for Georgia when like it's the second quarter and the broadcast has already devolved into talking about donuts. Like, in the South Carolina game, it at least made some sense because Todd Blackledge was doing his Taste of the Town thing, and that's when they brought up the donuts. I mean, they don't even have that kind of segment. It was second quarter; they're talking about donuts. But then that's the point where I started questioning, like, when are they gonna start talking about Arch Manning, even though like he's not there? That didn't happen. But there was like a ton of Munson talk. I don't know. This would be the only reason I would say, because if you haven't rewatched the fourth quarter yet, there was a lot of Munson talk. They were basically advertising for the SEC Storied. I already forgot what it's called, like More Than a Voice, right? And there's a Munson segment within that. So they were trying to talk that up, and so then they started just telling Munson stories and trying to imitate Munson a lot in the fourth quarter. So fourth quarter is worth a rewatch just for that alone. Not so much what's on the field, but that was excellent.
That's funny. Oh man. Yeah, dude. I would love for this to continue to carry over into this next game that we have coming up this weekend. But overall, there's really not a whole lot to truly complain about. I could probably nitpick on a couple of things that I saw from some of the wide receiver groups. I think I saw AD Mitchell have some blocking problems on the perimeter runs. As we've kind of seen, like some of the wide receiver blocking has been somewhat suspect on some of these running plays, which maybe is contributing to some of the running talk. But like there was a play early in the game when I thought that had AD picked up his block a little bit better, that it would have sprung. I can't remember who it was running it. I want to say it was Cook. It would have sprung Cook for a long game. But I think the other thing, and maybe you can edit this out, I don't remember, but Milton was hurt?
Yeah, Milton was hurt. Yep. So yeah, no need to modify. Milton had a shoulder injury. Like it was the kind of thing where Kirby said he was banged up, could have played if we needed him, kind of deal. So he was there. I'm pretty sure like he was there. I think he was there and he was dressed out, but he just didn't play. Sounds like he'll be fine for Arkansas, but they basically precautionary held him out. Yeah.
Right.
I think he dinged up his shoulder against South Carolina, something like that.
Okay. And then there was someone that didn't travel with the team that we were surprised about.
There was, and I can't remember who that was. I can't remember.
I think John mentioned it to us.
So I guess we've talked a lot of offense. And I guess there isn't a whole lot more to say about the defense other than like it was a shutout, and we did say the yard. What was it? 77 yards, I think was the final. I had a couple of tweets I had kind of saved during the game. Like Anthony Dasher had said that the Georgia's record for fewest total yards allowed in a game was 39 yards versus the Citadel in 1958 and 55 yards against Tennessee Tech in 2009. So I think this was the third fewest yards the Georgia defense has ever allowed in a game, which is impressive.
Yeah, no kidding. It was. I mean, like I said, anytime you're holding a team, an SEC team, I get it. It's Vanderbilt, but anytime you're holding a team like that in the SEC to less than 100 yards, you're playing lights out defense, man. Like, and it just seems to get better every week.
Yeah, and apologies to Clark Lee. I said Leah, but gives you a bit, I think, about the level of respect that we had for them going in. That the University of Georgia's game guide PDF had his name spelled wrong. they had it like Leah, which is why I was saying Leah. So yeah, Clark Lee. I thought that was funny.
Right.
I guess on the other side of the ball too, this is another good one. I guess so. This was from Chip Towers. I guess during the game, Lauren Smith leaned over to Chip and said that Georgia's 35 points in the first quarter was a record for most points scored before lunch. So
good points scored before lunch. That's great.
Good old Lauren. And then I did have one Bulldog brunch thing. This was something that Jeff Dancer asked and who was saying he wanted to research was the fact that we had two players in this game score a rushing and a receiving a rushing and a receiving touchdown. And that would be Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey. They both had one on the ground and one in the air. And like, had that ever happened again, or had that ever happened before? So that'll be a good one. We need the stats folks to crunch that. But and then I mean, just with the defense, I mean, am I right here? This is 4 games and we've had an interception in all 4 of the first 4 games. I mean, I'd be surprised if that's ever happened before either.
Yeah, no, I remember there's, the interceptions, the sacks, everything. I think that what was it? Brent Rollins had tweeted out something today, I think it was, about Keely Ringo, how he was targeted like 11 times, 0 receptions, something like that.
Yeah.
Like, and that's not the first game that something like that's happened. Keely Ringo is quietly one of the best cornerbacks in the country, in my opinion. And it's one of those things that, like, you'll never be able to see it on a stat sheet. Like he's got a couple, I think he's got a couple of interceptions, but like, he doesn't have a whole lot of tackles. Like, I don't know that he has necessarily a whole lot of pass breakups or anything like that. Like, he's not sacking the quarterback like crazy, but like, literally, Keely Ringo is the island that wide receivers go to die.
Yeah, and he's got he had at least one pass interference against Clemson, but I felt like that was a bad call. The other thing to remember is sometimes pass interference is actually a good play, right? I mean, it's only a 15-yard penalty in college. Right. That's the worst case, right? When you commit it. So sometimes it's a good decision to do that. Yeah, totally. For sure. Yeah. The defense is, I mean, I was nitpicking them after South Carolina a bit. Nothing really to nitpick here. And again, to show you how good, how good the defense was playing, and it's just like the offense, right? I got this from Graham Coffey. Jordan Davis only played 9 snaps.
Jordan Davis only played 9 snaps.
He only played 9 snaps, and we still did that.
What?
Yep.
So was it Jalen Carter? Like who was his replacement?
Yeah, Carter played a lot. But then I think we rotated a lot of guys. And that's the thing where, for me, like, I haven't gone back and watched it in detail. Like in the second half, I was listening on the radio. Although we did have, and again, apologies for not having the soundboard handy today, but we did have a sack from Robert Beal. And like, it was so amazing because the podcast account got tagged by Josh Hansher, by Dog Stats. He tagged the account. And then, like, I think, Logan runs the 960 Twitter account, and he tweeted out from there, like, the Robert Beal. So good. And so then I said something to Logan about it, and he was like, I haven't heard the radio call yet, but I hope Scott didn't mispronounce his name.
That was That was
Uh,
perfect. That was
yeah,
perfect. And a lovely little nugget of information for everyone to enjoy.
exactly.
Um, let's see. What else? What else
Well,
do
I
you
did
got?
want to hit our So to revisit our predictions, we both picked Zamir White as the leading rusher, and he was. There wasn't a lot of individual rushing yards for anyone. He had what, like 48 yards, 50 yards, something like that. It was relatively low,
He
but he
had
did lead the team.
he had 48 yards rushing, and
Okay.
Dejan had 46.
Okay. So right there. But yeah, I mean, Zamir just didn't play a lot, frankly. So that there. And then, I took the over. So I was right there. We hit the over just ourselves. um, and then, we both had Georgia winning significantly, but neither of us had a shutout. So, um, like I said, it exceeded it. I expected to take care of business, but not like that. Not to be that thorough. It was amazing.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Any other tidbits? Any other items of no? Oh, I did see something, and it's Vanderbilt related, but it was post game. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I did see something interesting about our competition this past week. Was Vanderbilt before World War II was a very different team than Vanderbilt after World War II. They had like
Mm.
291 victories before World War II and only like 99 losses. And since World War II, they've had 291 victories and almost 600 losses.
Wow, I did not realize that. I knew they were good, like back in like the early, you know, at the dawn of the SEC kind of deal. Uh,
Right.
that's interesting. Did they? Hmm, I don't know. Like, did they just not take it as seriously after the war? Do we know?
So I saw
Was
I
there a
saw it
reasoning? Yeah.
on so I saw it on Twitter this morning, I feel like, but it was just one of those things that, or maybe it was on the broadcast. I can't remember exactly, but it was just one of those things. Um, and it was, it was just mentioned. And I remember thinking like, man, what happened? Like, what did they just decide to stop playing sports after that? Like what happened?
Hmm. Yeah. That is weird. We'll have to get on that. Let's be sure to investigate that before we preview Vanderbilt next year.
Yeah, seriously. We'll make a note to check it
Uh,
out. What happened to Vanderbilt after World War II? They just
right,
disappeared.
right. Uh, all right. Well, like I don't really have much else to say about it. It was an epic beatdown. One of the biggest wins we've ever had. We did break the scoring record in the series, right? So what, 45 points was the largest margin of victory against Vanderbilt heading in. And so now we know that the largest margin of victory is 62 points. It's quite easy math to go from now on. Now we won't have Winsipedia and Georgia Dogs disagreeing on the what game had the largest margin of victory between these two schools.
Right. Circling back to the folks that didn't travel,
Yeah.
it was Blaylock. Dominic Blaylock went from being ahead of Kyrus Jackson on the injury front, remember? And we
Yeah.
were hopeful to get him back, but he didn't travel. He didn't even
Right.
travel on this game. And then other non-travelers were Arian Smith, which I have mentioned as well. Seemed like he got hurt more than what is being told as a contusion or whatever.
Right.
Um, but he did not travel to Vanderbilt, which I'm hoping, based on the availability of Washington and Smith for next week. Obviously, they didn't travel this week for Vanderbilt, but next week for um, for Arkansas, I'm hoping that all four of them are able to contribute.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, and Arkansas. Obviously, we'll get into that. We'll preview them, but just recapping the weekend, right? Big, huge win for them over A&M. So we now have a top 10 showdown between the hedges on Saturday. So as we can wrap a bow on Vanderbilt, and then we'll be back later in the week to preview said matchup.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks, man. Wish us luck for the rest of the trip.
Yeah.
It's a comedy of errors out here for the Powell clan, but
yes,
we're having fun.
I hope the remainder of the trip is uneventful. Only events being fun things.
Exactly. All right, man.
Awesome.
Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.